I'm Dr. David Wank, and tonight we're going to talk about pearls and pitfalls for dentists and physicians in terms of link building for search engine rankings. I'm Dr. David Wank. I'm a general dentist in New York City. I still see patients 5 days a week, and I'm the president of Short Hills Design, which is a web development and internet marketing company for dentists and physicians. So I'd like to thank Mark Dykman over at Esteto Dental Labs for sponsoring this event. Esteto is a full-service dental lab in Maplewood, New Jersey, and they serve a large portion of New Jersey. They have some New York City and Long Island clients. Mark gives hundreds of CE programs throughout the year. Probably half of my CE is through Mark. That might not be an exaggeration. Tons of programs all the time. Give Mark a call. He's at Esteto. They do great work. They have great pricing. And again, even for the CE, Mark's a great person to know. So thank you again, Mark. So I want to talk about now an overview of the presentation. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a 5-minute introduction, which is now. We're then going to talk about the web design workflow for a good 5 minutes. I want to then do an SEO primer, only 10 minutes. For you to really appreciate link building, we've really got to understand where it fits in with SEO. We also have a question of the link building concepts, of course. And then once we have those concepts, we can talk about what you have to know before you buy link building services. And certainly you don't have to buy them, but if you're going to, that's something you should know. And that's why, we have Justin Morgan. So after that, we're going to take questions for about 5 minutes. And then I'm happy to say that we have Justin Morgan, who's the dental marketing guy, who's going to be talking with us after. Justin does a lot of focus on link building and spends a lot of time with his clients doing link building. And I think that what I want to do here in part 5 is to say to you, what questions do you have to ask a company before you buy their services? And what are the correct answers that you should get from them? And Justin's going to help us with those. So that will run over the 45 minutes. I know I said 45 minutes and the real presentation, we'll stop at that point, but certainly stick around. If you can't stick around, obviously we will have the that part will be on the recording. So, and with that, let's keep moving. So, introduction. So, basic computer knowledge is necessary here. There actually really isn't any computer knowledge necessary for this, other than understanding where link building fits in, and that's what we're going to talk about. Taking notes. The recording is going to be available a few days after the presentation. I don't necessarily always give out slides because they just wind up printed and wasted. Certainly, if you'd like a copy of the slides, there are a couple in here that I love, actually, that I did. But seriously, if you want a copy of the slides, email me, and I certainly will make sure you get a copy of those. So, there is a raise your hand feature, and you can use that feature to let me know if you have a question. As I said, I do want to keep it at 45 minutes, and so if it's something that's really relevant, I'll answer it. Otherwise, I'll hold it to the end. And again, I will stay as long as you need to answer your questions, so don't worry about that. There are some webinars that have kept us online a long time, and I think that's fantastic. If you're asking questions, I'm doing something right. And again, this is a special one because we're going to do a half hour after with the dental marketing guy, Justin Morgan. Certainly, we're here for link building, but if something pops into your head about web development or SEO, we can tackle that also for you. Although the first ones we want to take are about link building. And again, what Justin's going to talk to us about is, or we're going to ask him, we're going to put him on the spot, what are the correct answers that we should get from a vendor? So, link building. Now, why do we even do link building? And what is link building? Well, a link is just a connection from your website to someone else's website. When you go to CNN.com and you click a link and it takes you to another website, that's a link. Simple as that. When you are on Dental Town, for example, and you click a link to an article on a website or something like that, that's a link. So the major uses of links are, number one, obviously, to drive traffic to your website. Number one thing. The other thing that link building can do, which is really helpful, is it can help build credibility for your website. So those are the two things. We're going to drive traffic and build credibility. And tonight we're going to talk about how. So, obviously, we're going to drive traffic to your website, where I hope that you generate new patients. And when you build credibility for your website using link building helps improve your search engine rankings, which of course then I hope helps drive traffic to your website, where once again you generate new patients. So in a nutshell, we want to drive traffic to your website, whether directly with a link or through search engine rankings that are making your site more visible on search engines, which help you generate new patients, traffic and new patients. So let's talk about the web design workbook for dentists. So this is not a webinar about selling my book. It's a book that I wrote because everyone always asks me, David, Dr. Wank, what kind of navigation should I have? Or do I need this or do I need that? And I wrote it because there was no source out there for us as dentists that explained this. This is not how to build your website, starting with the nuts and bolts and HTML. It's not a how-to. It's an overview guide. But the thing that I want to take out of this overview guide for tonight is that looking here at the workflow. So this is critical because whenever we do any kind of marketing or any kind of work, we've got to know where we are in the process. So quickly, phase 1 is initial building setup of your website. Phase 2 is anything that you're going to do to drive traffic to your website. And so whether that's search engine optimization or social media or pay-per-click website marketing or link building, whatever you do to drive traffic to your website, that is phase 2. Phase 3 is analytics and tracking and conversion optimization. That's important because what that means is that once you've got people doing something on your website or you've got traffic there, it's really nice to know, it's really nice to know, is it working? If you see 50 cosmetic patients in a month and you can't sell a cosmetic case, you're certainly not going to say the same, presentation to the other 50 patients. Doesn't make any sense. Same thing with your website. If you've got 50 people visiting your implant page and no one calls for implants, you don't have a traffic problem, you have a messaging problem. And so that's really what's happening in phase 3. And of course, I can't sell cosmetic cases unless I have a patient. And again, the most important thing about phase 1, I don't want to spend too much detail, is that you've got to have a website that's built to Google standards. And as we're going to see later, the reason is because there is a certain baseline. I use the analogy that my son plays baseball. I'm an assistant coach in Little League. And those of you who have heard me speak before know that I say, these kids can't pick up a bat without a helmet. And so I don't know if my kid's going to make the team, but I'm certainly going to send him with a helmet because I want him to be in the conversation. If the next coming of Babe Ruth comes and this kid doesn't have a helmet, doesn't matter how good he is, he's not in the conversation. So when we build a website for our clients, or when you have a website, I want to make sure that you were in the conversation. And the best way for me to know that is by building you to a baseline standard. We happen to have a 206-point checklist when we build a site. And that's also because I'm a dentist, because I'm the kind of dentist that layers my composites like you do. And I don't do 20 millimeter increments, and I time my bonding agent. And it's important to me. Process is important, and being thorough is important. So I want to know that I've done everything I can in this phase to get here. Think about this as excavating decay. And we want to make sure that all the decay is out before we do anything else. You can also think of this as, I have an office and I have plumbing and I have water. But before I start advertising in the paper and asking patients to come in for the special tomorrow, I want to make sure I have electricity. So again, tonight is really phase 2, anything you can do to drive traffic to that website. That's the most important thing. And link building is one of those things. So, introduction to SEO. So, put simply, SEO is the process by which we take carefully researched keywords and we put them into specific locations on your website. We're going to do a webinar specifically about this down the road, but suffice it to say, we find what the quote-unquote correct keywords are. Again, that's a discussion for an entire webinar. What the correct keywords are, and we put them in special places where Google tells us to. So I don't want you to think that I have some magic potion or any kind of special thing. Google has basically said, this is where we want to see keywords and do it this way. So this is not a secret. It's not anything like that. And again, so SEO, social media, AdWords, these are all the link building. These are all things that we're doing to drive traffic. You know, if we're thinking about your office, we are doing a billboard. We are doing, internet marketing. We are doing patient referral programs, mailers, whatever it happens to be to drive patients to your site. That's exactly what this part is. All the same goal. So if we look at this diagram, that really helps us understand what's going on with that. So we can see here's your website. SEO, the goal of SEO, to drive traffic to your website to get new patients. Same thing with social media. And I put a number of them up here. Most of our clients now stick with Facebook, YouTube, and maybe a little Twitter. But there are some pediatric offices we work with. They use Pinterest. They use Instagram. So, again, anything you can do. And so now when we add link building to the mix, we said, look, we're going to drive traffic and build credibility. There you go. So now think about if you have, we have a client, and one of the things when he opened his office is the local news station did an article about him, did a video. And so he has a link. This is his dental website. There's a link from the, whatever it is, newsroom website to his website. That is a fabulous link. What link building also does, and I'm going to show you, is it helps you with SEO. It helps, that's where we talk about the credibility. So let's talk about now organic search versus paid search very quickly. So organic search is simply based on the content of your website, period. And so if you look here, the reason I used car dealer is because I was lecturing once in southern Jersey, and I used dentists and as a search term, and one of the dentists in the audience showed up, and in the list, and there were some issues. So use car dealer, and you can see here, Major World and Autofinder.com are the top organic search. At this time, this was a while ago. But what that means in English is Google felt that these are the two web pages, Major World's homepage and Auto Trader's car dealer's page, that matched in the database, so to speak, of used car dealer. They didn't pay for these listings. They can't pay for these listings. They might have paid a search engine person to help them, but they certainly did not pay Google for that positioning. Now, what's paid search? So paid search is AdWords, pay-per-click. You create ads, and when people click on your ads, you pay. So here are the ads. And notice the ads are above and to the side. Sometimes they're off in yellow, sometimes they're not. Now, just having this ad show up, let's see here, Car by Co doesn't pay for this. But if I click on this, Car by Co pays for it, whether or not I become a client there. So that's something to consider with paid search. So do you really need SEO? And sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's no. So as a side, when you're working with a web company who says, oh, and you definitely need our SEO package, that's like me telling a patient that they need whitening and they're still filling out paperwork. They probably do, but how can I possibly know if they need perio, if they're doing paperwork? So maybe I should have them open their mouth first and then determine if we need perio. So if here's your website and it's the only website in the state or in the area, then you don't really need SEO. However, what about if you add two competitors? Well, you know what? There's 3-4 spaces. There's 10 people. There's 10 spots on Google's homepage, on the front page. So certainly you don't want to be number 10. But obviously here you're one of 3. I can live with that. You might not need SEO. But here's what happens. So now you've got a ton of competitors, and at this point, SEO might be necessary. And what you're gonna see is that a lot of this is based on the competition and what they're doing. So for argument's sake, here are your competitors. If all of them have websites that were built, in 1872, that are done in Flash and not mobile ready, and just not quality sites, you will rank ahead of them, for the most part. But again, I don't know what these, let's say this column of competitors, nobody here is up to date, except you. But I don't know that. And tomorrow, all these people might be up to date. So since I don't know what your competition is going to be, and since it might change, these people might change tomorrow, I want to make sure that you're up to the baseline standards. So this way, remember that's phase one. At a minimum, you're at least in this conversation. You have your helmet. You can try out for the team. At best, you're first. You don't need any more. But at worst, you're in the conversation. And again, since the way we build a site is not going to change based on your competition, because I'm not going to say, well, you have low competition, so we're not going to do link building or SEO. We're not going to make a good site for you. Of course not. But everyone's got to be at that baseline standard. So, terminology quickly. So SEO, we think of it in two ways, like we said. Paid search, which is AdWords, and there are other programs. AdWords is the biggie. Then organic. And organic, like we said, is that used car search. Someone does a search for used cars, and Google looks in their database and says, what do I think the best page will be to show our visitors who are asking that question? Now, on-site SEO, which we're not going to talk about tonight, that's the code, keywords, site speed, a lot of things. You saw that both of those sites mentioned used cars in their titles, and that's one of the reasons they showed up there. Off-site SEO, those are things you can't control. For example, the age of your domain name. It's a minor thing, but it matters. That's why I always tell people register for 10 years, because Google thinks you're serious. Your hosting location, again, that's a teeny tiny thing. If you're in the United States, host in the United States. If you're in Canada, try hosting in Canada. You're in the UK, host in the UK. Does it make a difference? We're not sure, but it can't hurt. And so again, tonight, link building is part of off-site SEO that helps you rank. Now, so when we're talking about SEO, we're ranking web pages, not websites. We're not ranking shorthillsdesign.com for a particular keyword. We're going to rank our AdWords page, let's say, hopefully for, best dental AdWords or for dental AdWords searches. So you're ranking pages. Now, let's talk about the ranking factors. There's more than 300 ranking factors. And so, obviously, you can't get all of them. But when you look at this, link building is one of these factors. And as I said before, part of our checklist when we build a site is to make sure that we've handled the bulk of these foundations, because again, I don't know what your competition is going to be. And you know what? The way I talk about this is like with the lab. So let's say you take an impression for a crown, and the margin is it's 95% there. If you send that to the lab and your usual lab guy is there, you have a fine crown. If you send that and your usual lab guy is away at a conference and the other tech does it, he does not know your margins as well as the tech you've been working with for 10 years. It might not come back okay. So I'm certainly not saying to retake that impression, but the idea is if you've got an impression that is perfect, then it doesn't matter if your regular tech does it or the other tech. And that's my point. I don't know who's going to be waxing your crown, so to speak. So what I do know, though, is that Google has said, here are one of the many, many factors that go into this, and the link profile. That's, what do our links look like? That's one of them. And so the problem is, we don't know how much these weigh. So, for example, I put here, and again, I made this slide up. This is not from Google. This is me kind of giving you an idea. So these are not, to scale, so to speak. There was a while where responsive, meaning, or mobile ready, where the website shrinks down for your iPhone or your iPad, there was a time where Google didn't care about that. So those didn't matter. Now it's very important. There was a time where your Google My Business profile wasn't that important. Now it's kind of important. Your NAP is name, address, and phone number. That should be consistent across all the sites. We have another webinar coming up about that, I think, in the summer. We'll probably all be on vacation. I'll record it from vacation, and you can watch the video. But that's important for your map listings. I can tell you from experience that title tags are really important. Link profile is important. Mobile responsive is important. SSL, the jury's out. Right now, it's a pain in the neck to really get SSL going. And, it's not huge. So that's what I'm trying to say, is that I don't know for you, or for anyone, we know that these are a lot of the factors. We don't know what's important, relatively speaking. If you and I have the same link profile and the same title tags, but our profile's filled out, but you have alt tags, does that make you higher than it makes me? I have no idea. And so since we don't know that, and it can change, since that can change, you know, I want to make sure that we put you, or your web person puts you in a position where you can compete. So let's take a look. So what happens now, and again, Invisalign Los Angeles really isn't a good keyword because that would be like, Invisalign New York City. There's so many parts of New York City that it doesn't make sense. But let's just play along. So let's say you've got these 10 dentists on the first page of Google, and they basically have done all of these things. They have websites built to Google standards, and they've done everything they're supposed to do. And forget about the searches. That was from a different lecture. But they all rank in this order. All these presidents, these dental presidents, rank for Invisalign Dentist Los Angeles. The question I have is, well, how is Google going to differentiate among all these pages? And part of it is looking at these factors. And one of the biggies, because these are, link building, I would say, is probably one of the toughest ones to get and to kind of nail down. The rest of these are relatively straightforward. But so, now we're going to say, how do we tell them apart? And part of that can be your links. So link profile just means that, what is the link profile of, shorthousedesign.com? That's just, let's look at the list of all the links that go to that website, and, are they quality links? What type of links are they? That's all that a link profile is. So let's talk about that. Now, this I just threw in here because I'm getting this a lot lately. So I made this up, this quote. So basically it says, when you hear about Google changing its ranking algorithm, what you hear about is mostly irrelevant. Keep publishing new quality on-topic content and you'll do fine. A lot of people are terrified because, oh my goodness, Google is changing their algorithm, scramble the jets. The truth is, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, it's really not going to affect you. Google's algorithm changes are designed to really affect people who are gaming the system. And for us, it is very rare. I'm trying to think. I don't really recall a client who was hit with an algorithm problem because of a site issue because the algorithm changed. It's designed to actually help us, those of us doing the right thing, and not hurt us. So, assuming that all other factors are being equal, like those things we talked about before, so with two identical websites, the one with the most authority, incoming links, will likely have a higher rank. Again, that's a quote from me, that's not Google, but that's the concept. And again, that's why every site we build follows Google standards, because I don't know what your competition is going to be. And I sound like a broken record about that, but I want to send the best impression possible to the lab because I don't know who's going to wax it up, if it's the other guy. Okay, so let's talk about link building now. So links are the currency of the internet. And so one of the problems on the internet is, how do I know who's good? What's an authoritative site? If I write a website about, let's say I write something about dental implants and sinus lifts. I'm not a periodontist. I do not do sinus lifts. But let's say I write a really long article about sinus lifts. And there's a periodontist who writes an article who teaches about sinus lifts, and she writes an article about sinus lifts. How is Google going to know which is the better article on sinus lifts? They can't. And one of the things that help them differentiate is links. Again, let's say we both have pages that have the right keywords and the tags and all that good stuff. So how can we differentiate otherwise? And one of those is links. So it is a popularity contest. But before I say that, it's about links. Because if you think about it, if there were no links to my article about sinus lifts, but Dr. Smith, her article has a link from the ADA says, this is such a good article about sinus lifts, we're going to link to her. Or the local dental society, Dr. Smith, she's written such a good article about sinus lifts that we are going to send it to her. That we're going to link to her. And so that is really how we decide a lot about credibility, because how else would you know? So it is a popularity contest. And so what happens is links from cool websites make you cool too. This is back to high school, folks. So in the sense that, so if the ADA, what kind of link would I want? So think about my client that I said who had a link from that TV station. That's a great link, because TV stations in general are reputable. They don't just hand links out all over the place. It's a reputable website, and they have much more impact on people and a much higher audience than, say, let's say that that dentist did work for the son of the local hardware store. And the hardware store might say, hey, listen, Dr. Jones is a great dentist, and here's a link to his website. That's great. But the link from that news station's website is a much more powerful link. And so getting that link makes him cooler, so to speak, more popular, more authoritative than a link would have been from the hardware store. Now, not to say the hardware store is a bad link, but I'd rather have one that's it's closer to a more popular website. Now, of course, that begs the question: what if I have 5 hardware stores against one news station? The answer is I don't know. And again, we have to see. That's kind of why I say let's just build the best links we can, because at that point it doesn't make sense. Patient comes in with 29 MO, recurrent decay, on the lingual margin, and it doesn't really make sense to say, well, I wonder if that's because she doesn't floss in that area. I wonder if the toothbrush angle is different. I wonder what the microbes are. Certainly you can say to her, brush the gums, but your treatment plan is still going to be excavate, whatever you're going to do, onlay crown, whatever it happens to be. So I don't want to spend too much time weighing those links. I'd rather just get them. So again, it doesn't mean to get links from anywhere, but it means you don't have to split hairs at every level. So link juice. They don't really call it link juice, but kind of in the field we call it link juice because it makes sense. So sites pass link juice to other sites. So like I said, this hardware store passes a little bit of link juice to the other site. And maybe they did an article for, they went to school and talked to the kids about teeth. And the PTA has a website, and they linked to the dentist website, Site 2. They passed some link juice. Now you've got that TV station. Now you've got Dr. Smith, who wrote that article about, sinus lifts, and the ADA links to her. Or CNN says, Dr. Smith is this, fantastic dentist. And so we don't mind getting links from sites that only give us a little bit of link juice, but I'd much prefer getting sites that have a ton of link juice. And the problem with getting links from sites that have a ton of link juice to give is that A, everybody wants to get the links from them, of course, because, and B, they don't have that many links to give because, again, think about the captain of the football team. If I'm friends with the captain of the football team in the high school hierarchy, I'm cool. And if you are friends with me, you're cool. And maybe that makes your brother cool too. But as someone who's friends with your brother, who's then friends with me, who is friends with the quarterback, the captain, does that make him cool? Well, you reach a point where you dilute that out, and that's the problem. So CNN also, for example, or even that local radio station, they don't want to link to a webpage about someone growing grass in their backyard. It's not an exciting topic. It's not going to generate traffic. And if that website sends people to articles about grass growing, they're going to say, this is not a great website, I don't want to use it. So site 1, whether it's the ADA or it's CNN, and I'm not saying you can get links from there, but, most of us start a lot smaller than that. But, and we're going to look at that next. But certainly sites that are able to kind of pass this link juice, this authority, they're not just going to knight everybody. That's why it was such a big deal when, in the medieval times or whatever it was, where you get knighted, because everybody's not a knight. And so that's where that goes. So it's later than medieval. But okay, so let's go to some free stuff here. So where can you get free links that are good? Now, there's something called nofollow and follow, and you can have a link where basically you send a link to somebody without actually passing the juice. But at this point, I don't want to worry about that, because that really splits hairs. Most of the links that you're going to get that you would buy from somebody, let's say, or from a company or do on your own, would be follow links. You don't write follow, but would be links that do pass link juice. So, and again, I don't know how well these weigh, but I know that they exist. And what I know is that your competitors, because I work with a lot of your competitors, and I say you as a whole, because I work with a lot of dentists, are not using them. And I think it's a mistake. So number 1, the ADA. If you're an ADA member and you have a profile on the ADA's website, fill it out and get the link. Same thing with the AGD. Again, they change it all the time. I don't remember. I haven't looked at my AGD profile in a while. I don't remember if they give you a link out, but if they do, do it. Specialty organization. If you're a member of Pedo or Perio, and they allow you in their kind of list of periodontists or whatever it is, get on that list. Same thing with, let's say, Invisalign. That's not on this list, or CEREC. So whenever we build a website for a client, and a lot of our clients do Invisalign, they're they say, hey, David, let's link out to the Invisalign website. And I say, no, because you know what else is on the Invisalign website? A list of other dentists that take Invisalign. The other one that you should absolutely be on that isn't on here is your insurance company's website. If you take 10 insurances, I don't know if it makes sense to spend to get a link from all 10. Although if your staff, knows how to do it once to set the profile, it's different on each site, but probably just registering, that's fine. But if your big three, whatever, Delta, Cigna, whatever it happens to be, think about how you search for a doctor or a dentist. For me, when I needed someone to look at my knee, because I played ice hockey in dental school, the jury's still out whether that was a good decision or not, I needed an orthopedic surgeon. I did a search. I went to my insurance company. The people that didn't have websites or didn't have websites listed, I skipped. And then I went to the ones that had websites, and I looked, and I saw, I evaluated them. So not only will that help you maybe drive patients, but if you take Delta, hypothetically, and nobody else in your area has a link from the Delta site, they might list the other dentists, but you're the one that's going to have the link the patient can check out. Plus, again, Delta might not pass link juice like that, but the point is it's another link. Chamber of Commerce. I don't care if you don't get along with whoever's in the Chamber of Commerce. If it's $100, $150, $200 for the year to get the link, pay for it. Volunteer organizations. There are clients who they did the gardening for the church, and the church at part of the the church links to them and says, you know what, Dr. Such and Such, we thank him and his wife because they donate a lot of their time for the church, and we appreciate that. Now, is that as good a link as the one that would be from the from the newspaper site? No, of course not. From the the TV station? No, but it's a link. And you know what? There are a lot of people who go to that church who might be browsing the church's website and see that. So just because it's not a huge website, with 1 million people going to it, it's certainly, a local website, and local traffic is good. And then newspaper print articles. That's fewer and fewer now, but sometimes, I've gotten a client, I've written in the AGD Journal, New Jersey AGD Wisdom for New Jersey, and it says, Dr. Wank, at the bottom, Dr. Wank is a, Harvard-educated dentist who practices in the city, New York City, and he, does internet marketing for dentists, and, find him at shortnellsdesign.com. It's fantastic. That link is there, and when they have the print version on the web, hopefully that link is active and it sends them to me too. So these are all links that you should be getting, or at least your staff. You don't have to spend the time doing it. Have your staff look into this. I told you this is about competition, and since a lot of your competitors who I work with, again, not yours specifically, but a lot of dentists I work with do not do this, and so it behooves you to do it. Now, that gets us into the problem. The problem is I can't do this for you. I can, but I can't, in the sense that I can certainly sign you up for the local Chamber of Commerce, but then I've got to call you, and I've got to get in touch with you so you can pay and do this and that. I can't sure, you can give me your username and password for these three, and I can log in for you and do it, but it's difficult for me to do that because I'm not you. It's much easier for you to sit down on a Sunday afternoon or whatever it is, or a rainy night on a rainy day and do this, or have your staff do it. Because that's just, again, it's easier that way. Now, on that note, let's talk about the pitfalls. So what can a link building company do for you? Now, we've got about 10 minutes left, and we're going to go through this. Number one, so link building companies have connections with a lot of websites, and they know the owners and editors of popular sites. And what they do is, you, the customer, the dentist, you pay the company to get links from these websites to yours. So let's say that there is a period on a web, someone runs a great blog about perio, and a lot of patients go there, a lot of people go there to read about perio. What would be great, and you could now get on the phone, Here, you could do this yourself. You get on the phone or you go on the web, you find out who owns that website. Oh, he's a retired dentist who runs a perio blog. Terrific. Now you get to know him. Now you say, hey, Dr. Such and Such, I'd like to write an article on your website about sinus lifts, whatever it happens to be. And you've got to go back and forth with him and get to know him, because he's certainly not just going to say to you, oh, sure, write on my website. And so you've got to make personal connections to get links. Again, you could do it, but you have other things to do, like have a family and, and breathe after a day in the office. So you certainly can do it yourself. It's like I tell people with building their website. You can absolutely build your own website. But it's a question of, can you do it as well as I can? Because I do it every day. And I joke, I haven't had an endo fail in 10 years because I haven't done one in 10 years. I can absolutely do it, but it's going to take all day. My endodontist does it in her sleep. So I'd rather have her do it. And there's nothing wrong with using a link building company. In fact, there's nothing wrong with using an accountant. You can, certainly feel free to not use an accountant, but there is nothing wrong with a link building company, but there are some pitfalls. And so in the last 8 minutes, we're going to talk about those pitfalls, and then we're going to talk to Justin about answering how those are. So let's talk about how this works. So a link building company, as we said, has a number of partner sites. And in our example, the link building company, you say, you know what, link building company, that Dr. Jones, he's got this great perio website. I would love an article on that one. Or you say, hey, I'm a periodontist and or I'm a GP. I want to generate some perio. And the link building company says, you know what? I happen to know Dr. Smith or Dr. Jones, whatever it is, who runs the perio site, the perio blog. Let me talk to him. So what they do is the link building company then puts some content, writes a post or an article on that periodontal, Dr. Jones's perio website, which gets a ton of traffic, and says, sinus lifts are very important when you're doing implants, and there are a couple of approaches and blah, 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 blah. And then they link to your website. So what you've done is you've now established that the link building company found an appropriate site about perio, because you're interested in perio, let's say, to promote perio, and got a link to your website. That is how it works. And it's actually really simple. You're basically paying this link builder to do all this time and this research, and sometimes even the content for you. So that's what you're doing. So let's take a look now at the problems that Justin's going to answer for us. Number one, so all partner websites aren't equal in authority, and so which clients get which connections? So, you certainly have top tier sites. Again, let's say they have CNN, I'm making this up, an AOL at the top, and down here they have Joe's Hardware Store and Fred's Pet Shop. Well, I want to get the one from the ADA, and I want the one, or CNN and AOL. I don't want to be the one stuck with Joe's Pet Shop and Jim's Hardware Store. So, and that's why, I dim these out. So the question is, link building company, what do you do to make sure, because I'm paying you the same cash that, my competitor down the block is paying. Why does she get to get these top tier ones and I get this? And what happens when she already used this one? What if there are no top ones left? So how do we make sure that I'm paying for, that I'm still getting, that I still have access to the top sites or, these top tier? And that's question one. Question two, what guarantee do you have as the dentist that they keep the link? So, link company, so Link Builders Inc., we'll make them up. Link Builders Inc. went ahead now and got a link for you on Dr. Joe's, on Dr. Dr. Such and Such's perio website. Okay, you pay the link building company, they made the arrangement with Dr. Joe, who runs the perio site. What guarantee do you have that Dr. Joe's going to keep that link? Do they have some kind of other deal with Dr. Joe? Do you have an agreement that says, Link Building Company Inc. guarantees that link is there for 6 months or whatever it happens to be? And who checks that the links are still in place? And how often? You pay for the link, and are you paying them once to establish the link and money to maintain it? Or are you paying once and then hope for the best? Because I certainly don't want that to happen. Where you pay the company to do the research to get you the link, and then that link disappears. Problem three. So right now, you've written a perio article, and Dr. Joe deals with your link building guy, you're Link Builders Inc., and you're the only one they link out to. But you know what? Dr. Joe wants to make more money, or Dr. Joe wants to get more popularity. So Dr. Joe says, you know what? I'm going to work with ABC Link, with Link Builders Inc., ABC Links, and XYZ Links, and do the same thing. So now all of a sudden, instead of you being the one who's getting all the proverbial link juice, again, it's not that simple, but conceptually it is, now you're sharing the link juice. But you still paid Link Builders Inc. a fee. So at any time, this could happen, where they give other links. So what if the partner site links to other dental sites and dilutes the value of it? That's the concept of, again, the football team. So the captain of the football team likes you and invites you to the party and invites your friend to the party. You guys are very cool. Your status in high school is high. But now the captain, he invites the entire class. So, all right, now you're just one of many. And then what happens if your rankings drop? Because remember, we said link profile, these links, the value of these links, sometimes connects, again, as one of many things, connects to your website rankings. And so you've paid your link building company to do this, and the site turns around on the other side and goes ahead and dilutes the links. What if your rankings drop as a result? Are there guarantees that won't happen? And the other thing to worry about is, what if the company paid to put the link on the partner site? The problem there is that is illegal. I mean, Google illegal. It's not illegal to say, hey, David, I'll give you $1 million to put an article on Short House Design. I mean, I don't take guest articles in Short House Design. I'm the only one who writes for it because it's mine. But certainly you could say, oh yeah, pay me and, give me lots of money and we'll put links on my website or whatever it happens to be on one of my web properties. But Google really frowns on that. And so the thing is that, again, if they're taking money from your link building person, they're probably also taking money from other link building people. And that's what's called a link farm. And that used to happen a long time ago. It doesn't even matter. I would pay my cousin's, uncle's, brother's, friend's, former roommate from Spaceballs to link to a refrigerator development company in Norway to link to me. And Google's like, you know what? It doesn't really make sense that the refrigerator development company in Norway is linked to this dental website, in Tribeca. So Google does, so we really frown upon when a link building company pays a partner, pays one of their partners to get a link on your website. So my real question for Justin, and we're going to jump him in here in a minute, is what type of guarantee does the client get against these above problems in general? And if these links are altered, are your rankings going to decrease? So that's really, those are the questions. So as a total aside, I invite you to join our Facebook group. It is private in the sense that there are only dentists, very few select marketers who are not marketing to you, but they are joining the conversation, and staff members and things like that. We usually talk about some upcoming things along with comments from these webinars, and so it's something it's free to join. And there's my contact information.